Hey friends, welcome back to Nurturing the Nest podcast episode 2. We're so glad you're here. I'm Alfonso.
Judith, we are married, we work together, we parent together, and somehow we still very much like each other.
And together we help couples and parents build just stronger relationships without losing their minds or their sense of humor.
That's right. At Nurturing the Nest, we give you the tools, the truth, and the occasional reality check to help you stay connected even when life is messy, which it most often is, right?
Yes, it is. So today we're diving into a topic that, let's be real, affects every couple. The dreaded C word. And it is what, my love? Conflict.
Conflict.
Yes. That thing where you go from I love you to why do you chew like that in like 0.2 seconds, right?
Exactly. And if you've ever thought, are we the only ones who argue about dumb things? You are so welcome. You are our people. Whether you've been married 5 months or 15 years, there are going to be arguments, misunderstandings, tension. It really is just part of the deal. So the question isn't if you will ever fight, it's how you're going to do it. And honestly, this is one of the biggest shifts we've made in our own marriage to think that conflict meant something was wrong with us. Like, why can't we just get it together? Especially early on in our 15-year marriage. But the truth is, even the healthiest couples have conflict.
Let me say that again for the people in the back, especially the healthy couples,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Because they're willing to lean in, right? Instead of just avoiding the conflict, right? And that's what we want to unpack today here. How to fight right, like the Gottmans say, right? And actually use conflict to draw closer, right? Not further apart. Right, Mila?
So, exactly, yes. So, first things first, can we just take the pressure off? Conflict is normal. It is not a red flag. It doesn't mean your relationship is broken. Actually, just like you were saying, my love, it's actually the healthiest of couples that know how to have healthy conflict. And yes, I said healthy conflict.
Exactly. So what is a problem is when we stop showing up during conflict, right? When we
Right.
disconnect emotionally, go cold, right? Or just start attacking each other instead of the issue, right? And I mean, we teach a lot here. We teach in the jails, at schools, churches, or anywhere we can gather people. You know, we've taught for 15 years, and this is one of the things that is like an aha moment, right? For people as we're teaching this, you know what? You're right. We always go after each other, right? And we don't focus on the issue, on the thing that upsets you, right?
Exactly. I love what the Gottmans say about 69% of conflicts in
Wow,
marriage are perpetual.
that's
69%
that's
of the
pretty
things
high.
that we are arguing about
Mm.
today, we will continue to argue about 10 years from now. They are perpetual. So they're not going away, like ever. They're rooted in personality, core values, upbringing, all the stuff that makes us us.
So exactly. So that thing that you keep fighting about, the one you thought would magically disappear with time, yeah, it probably won't, right? But here's the thing, that's okay, right, my love?
Exactly. The goal isn't to solve every issue. It's to learn how to stay connected while you work through it. Or
Hmm.
even if you're not working through it, even then, the goal is to stay connected.
So let's talk about fighting dirty versus fighting right, as the Gottmans call it. And by the way, we recommend their book. It's called Fight Right. And part of what we're talking about is based on that book, but just a wealth of knowledge that we have in the subject as well. But let's talk about it for a minute here. Let's just go there, right? Let's talk about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. There we go.
That's a tongue twister. Yes, these are four patterns that seriously sabotage communication. And honestly, we've all done them at some point, my love. I mean, I know when I first started learning about this and started identifying the patterns, I started even identifying them within myself, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think we're all guilty of that. So before we unpack each one individually, let me just tell you what they are. It's criticism, right? It's defensiveness. It's the second one. Contempt is the third one, and stonewalling. Kind of sounds dramatic, right? But here's the thing: they can sneak in so easily into our relationships.
Let's break them down very briefly. And we
Yeah, do
kind of
that.
all have like a general knowledge of what these are. criticism, for instance. Criticism is when you attack your partner's character.
Yeah.
Like, you never help me. You are so inconsiderate, instead
Sorry.
of, I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? That shift can make all the difference.
Words matter, right? Your tone of voice matters. And just that shift in language, right? From saying,
Mhm.
you would never help, pointing the finger, and then you point to yourself, you know what? I'm just feeling overwhelmed. That is a noticeable shift, right? So that's what criticism is. The next one is defensiveness. Now I know, we've both done
I've
we've
done
both done
this.
this, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody that's hearing this has done this as well. It's the classic, well, maybe if you didn't dot dot dot, right? Instead of just owning up to your part in the whole thing, right? Whatever the conflict is, owning up to your part in it, right? And we get defensive and we point fingers. Because guess what? If you're pointing the fingers over there, and then pointing at you, right? So that's what defensiveness is in a nutshell.
Right. The last one is contempt. And this is actually the scariest
But
one.
it's
This
a third
one,
one. There's a third one.
yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's just take on contempt. Well, this one is the toughest one. This is when we start with like the eye rolls, the sarcasm, the low key disrespect that chips away at connection so fast. And remember, as we have been saying, no matter what you're going through or the intensity of the conflict, really what we're aiming for is connection, and contempt chips away at it very quickly.
Exactly. And the last one is stonewalling, right? When you shut down, basically you're checking out emotionally, right? For lack of a better word. And honestly, I can say here publicly, right, that was my go-to, right, for a while there. I didn't really realize, how unsafe it made you feel, right? When you just checked out, and it's letting you know, I'm checked out. I'm not interested in this. Don't even try. I'm like a rock, right? Like a gray rock, right? And there's nothing you can say or do that can change that, and that can be very damaging, right?
Again, bringing it back, because if you stonewall, that signals to my body and to my heart that you're not in this with me. It's that
Hmm.
disconnection that we really want to avoid. And, one of the things that I realized is I didn't need you to have all the answers, because I also can acknowledge that must feel so heavy when when I come to you and there are strong emotions. And if you think that you need to solve the situation or you need to have all the answers, I can understand that can be so, so heavy. So it's important to acknowledge that is not what we need in those moments. Really, what I was needing, and what I know is at the core of a healthy relationship, is just to know that you're in it with me, no matter what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think once we realized what we were doing, right, we started trying the antidotes to that, right? Things like softening our startup, right? As Dr. Gottman says, or taking ownership, right, of our part in it, right? Or showing appreciation, right? And just stepping away from when we needed to cool off, right? Like, I need a break. I'm getting too heated up here. But here's the thing, coming back, not just fleeing from this. Okay, that's an easy cop out, right? You know what? I don't feel good. I'm getting too upset. I need a break, and never returning back to try to work it out, right? But, coming back to it, right?
Yeah, I think I remember some of our early moments of disconnection. It would be like I was still in it and I was still processing my love, and you would say like, "You're still on that?"
Exactly.
I'm like, yes, I'm still there. I haven't I need to work through this, right? So like you
Hmm.
said, it's been so healthy to be able to say, hey, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I might need a few minutes, or I might need some time, whatever that looks like, but to express it with the commitment of like, I'm coming back. This doesn't mean that I'm disconnecting from us. For
Most
me, the
definitely.
biggest, yeah, for me, the biggest game changer was learning how I bring something up matters more than what I'm trying
Mhm.
to say. That's one that I really had to work on, and I have, and I feel like it has been such a game changer.
And for me, look, I'm very competitive, right, in everything that I do. And for me, it was realizing that we weren't in a boxing match, right? I was realizing that being right wasn't worth, right, if it cost us connection and attachment, right? It wasn't worth the cost. And once I figured that out, then everything made sense, right? To be honest, it was a hard one, right? Like I said, I'm very competitive, and I thought, you know what, I know better, right? And I know more. I'm older than you, right, by several years, and in my mind, you're like, I know I'm right, and even if I was right, right, It's like you said, it's how you bring it up, not so much what you're trying to do. And by the way, I was wrong most of the time anyway. So, there's that too.
But that shift from winning the argument to protecting the relationship, I do wholeheartedly believe that's what saved us in the hardest of seasons. And it's what continues to guard our marriage. It's complete. It's such a shift. I
Hmm.
don't want to win. I want our relationship to win. I want our relationship to be protected.
And here's the
Yeah.
thing: the unsung hero is repair, and people don't understand this, right? But repairing the situation, right? Like things will go sideways sometimes, or it's going to happen, such as life, right?
Mhm.
But if you can turn around to your person, whoever that person is, and say, you know what, I'm sorry. Can we just start over? I am deeply sorry for my part in it, for what I said or what I did, whatever my behavior was, right? Or even just crack a joke to try to diffuse the tension, right? That's powerful, right? Trying to repair. It's a very powerful concept as well. Don't you think?
Yeah, I love how you said that. Repair is the unsung hero because it's true. I've never met a couple, even, in my counseling journey that hasn't had problems. If you ever meet someone like that, I always feel like, no, run away. Like, that's not possible. As human beings, we're always going to have ruptures, and repair is the unsung hero. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but there are different levels in terms of the quality of our apologies. And one of the requirements that I know makes such a huge difference, my love, and you've always brought this to the table, is that it's honest and loving. It's not just to placate, but whenever you've brought an apology, it's been from a true place of I want to repair this genuinely, and that's such a big difference.
In the past, you have said you called it a high quality apology, and I like that term, high quality.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like you said, we're all built differently, right? We were raised different. We have our own personality, our own things we've dealt with, our own trauma that we bring into the relationship, and some of us we're just built differently, right? So for me, I just like to move on quicker than I should, right? And you also use the term sit in the tension, right? That's your therapy, therapeutic life, that you bring into our relation, which I love, by the way. You call it, sit in the tension, right? Think about it. Is it really like sometimes you'll tell me, you said I'm sorry too quick, right? Like I'm not ready to move on quite yet. And sometimes, to be honest, if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes we just apologize just to move on because I don't want to deal with this. I want to move on. I'm going to enjoy my day. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe you're going to a theme park. You're on your way to Disneyland, right? And you're in an argument in the car. Well, I want to enjoy my day, so why don't I just apologize and let's move on? We'll deal with it later. No, why don't you deal with it now? You got a 2 hour drive anyway, right? But it's got to be a high quality apology, right? Honest, right? Forthright, honest, genuine. And when you do that, then once you sit in the tension of it, right? And then once what you repair, then you can move on, right? And enjoy your day. Exactly, right?
100%.
So,
100%. Once we
let's
feel
land
that genuineness, it's like,
exactly right. We can
yeah,
breathe now, right? So
yeah,
let's land it right in real life. Let's get to the application here, right? Because it's easy to just talk about about the themes and about kind of talk about the issue without really applying it to real life, right? I know we're educators at heart and we love to educate and we love to teach and whatnot, but we're talking about here that's a point of this podcast. We want to be real, authentic, and just tell you how we've dealt with these things, right? So how do you land? Let's just land this. How do you say you're in the middle of a heated moment? Okay, what do you do? What do you do? What's step one, my love? What do you do?
Well, step one is to take a moment and really pause, physically pause. Like if you want to continue just talking and going, and you're just adding fuel to the fire. No, no. Let's really take a moment to emotionally regulate and pause. Take a breath, feel your body. Give yourself the space to do that.
Beautiful. Okay, so once you do that, once you pause and you take a deep breath, right? The next step would be to state the need. Don't make don't drop hints, right? But just state, especially to men, right? Sometimes as they say, we're wired differently. Our brains are wired differently. And sometimes we just don't get it. We don't catch the hints, right? We don't catch them. So we have to be able to state the need, right? Sometimes we over romanticize things. We've talked about it before, my love. We over romanticize things, right? And we say like, he should know. Well, maybe he doesn't, right? Or he's too busy. He's in his own mind, right? Thinking about work or whatnot, right? Thinking about the ball game, right? Or whatever, right? But
Yes.
we need to
Yeah.
be better at stating what your need is in that moment and not just attack, right? So instead, you can say something like, you know what? I need help feeling supported right now. I'm overwhelmed, right? It's better than you never help. It's always the same with you. You just sit down, come to work from work, sit down and just want to relax and watch a game or play video games or whatever, you do. You're now that you're in attack mode, right? Like I said, you're kind of like in the boxing match, and we need to get better at fighting better, at fighting right, the right way, right? So that would be step 2, I would say. Just stating the need, not the attack, right? Not to attack.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, we're not going to have time to go over all of the layers, but it can be such a journey for a variety of reasons to take that pause, listen to your body, and structure your thoughts in a way that really expresses the need versus just like going for the jugular and assassinating your character, my love. But I know that I just want to hold space for that because I know that for me, for again, for a variety of reasons, it was a journey of self-discovery and it wasn't so easy to do that. It took me quite a while to get in tune with myself and to develop that ability to just be able to say it so naturally, like, this is what I need. This is what I need, right? So I just want to honor that it might take a while for us to do that, especially if we grew up in environments where maybe our needs weren't heard or maybe we did express our needs, but support never came. And I have to say that can happen in marriage too, but that's a separate podcast that we can have. And I want to hold space for that a little bit because there are other techniques to address that. But for now, like this is just like the first layer of intervention. Let's start with trying this, getting to know yourself while pausing and being able to clearly express the need, right? Then what happens if it gets too hot? What happens if it gets too heated? Like we were saying, my love, right? It's about stepping away with care, not abandoning. I mean,
Exactly.
you've always been so careful to do that, of not making me feel like you're just abandoning me in the middle of an argument. But
Right.
it's no, even if I need to take a pause, you always tell me I want to work through this. I just need 20 minutes, or maybe I'm writing an email because we both work from home and the kids might be crying. It might not be the ideal moment, not even just because of us, but because of our kids or whatever. But it doesn't mean that you're avoiding. It means you're protecting the connection with that pause. And I've always loved that you do that so well for us.
Likewise, and likewise. And I would just add one more thing here. Have this conversation with your partner before an argument, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
if it's gonna be, before you were in the moment and you're heated, they're gonna think that you're just, avoiding the issue, right? But honey, beforehand, you know what? In the future, when we have, a disagreement and we're getting into it and whatnot, and if either one of us is feeling a certain way about it, we have a big emotion about it, right? You're really upset, you're really, whatever it is, right? Really sad, whatever the emotion is. Let's agree that if either of us tells the other person, you know what, I need a break, it's not because we're trying to avoid it, it's because we really do need a break. Our body needs to calm down, right? My heart's thumping out of my chest, right? I feel lightheaded. It's a little different for each person, but physiologically we feel it in our body, right? You get flushed in the face, your hands get clammy, right? Some people get lightheaded. Some people, like I said, your heart rate goes up. You need to calm down, just physically, right? Because you're gonna be in the danger zone of something happening to you physically. You may say or do something that you may later regret because you're too heated, right? So once you calm down, again, try to have this conversation before, just as preventively. Honey, let's just agree, either you or I, or if we're both, really, it's getting to both of us, we both need a break, right? Break for, whatever you need to do to calm down. If it's listening to music, going for a walk, drinking some water, whatever, right? Let's do that, and then we'll come back and we'll reconnect and we'll still figure it out, right? We're not gonna run away from this, right? We need to fix this, right? We need to fix this, figure this out. And like I said, honestly, the win is staying connected, right? At the end of even if you don't, even if you don't figure out, like you said, 69% of problems are perpetual according to the Gottmans of their research. That means that there's things that may not change, right? It's who you are, right? It's built into your DNA,
Yeah.
right? You think a certain way, your attitudes, your opinions on things, your value system. It might not be aligned 100% with each other, right? And you just might think differently, right? And there's nothing that either of us can say to change that, right? But we may not fix it, but at least we were stayed connected, right? Even in the mess, especially in the mess, right?
Yeah. I love that, especially in the mess.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, if you've been stuck in the same fight lately, or you feel like your communication has just hit a wall, I think one of the things that was on our heart to really share is that you're not failing, you're
No,
human. Every single couple struggles.
exactly. But here's some hope for you, right? You're not going to be stuck forever, right? With just a few tools, right, and a lot of grace, you can turn even your hardest conversations, I would say, into moments of real growth, right? Because
Oh,
your
absolutely.
relationship should be a dynamic. It should be dynamic, right? There should be a lot of growth involved. You're always learning. You may have challenges. We don't call them problems. We call them challenges, right? It's something that we can work through, right? And guess what? You'll learn from them, right? We'll work through it. I'll learn from them, and hopefully, we'll make the same mistake later on, right? So these are moments, real moments of growth, I would say, right?
Oh, yes. I think some of the most precious growth moments for our relationship have been through the toughest of conflicts.
Yeah.
So I love how you're framing it that way of like these are actually opportunities to show up, be committed, and to strengthen that love that no matter what, even in the mess, I'm here. So this week we're going to encourage you to try one thing. Maybe it's softening your tone. Like we were saying, one of the game changers for us was to really work on starting more softly, not coming in guns blazing, baby, and me attacking your character, but just making sure that I'm stating the need, not putting you down, and softening my tone, my body language, right? Maybe it's taking a breath before we speak. Like I was saying, taking a moment to just notice what our body's telling us and to order our thoughts in a way that expresses the need. It could be as simple as saying, hey, I love you, and I don't want to fight like this anymore. I want to work on the level of intensity that I bring to our conversations. What about for you, love? What's one thing that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, like I mentioned, right? Sometimes we get into our own head and we think we are right, right? And we think we have the right answer,
Mhm.
right? And we need to be more empathic, right? We talk a lot about this in the courses. We need to give each other more empathy, right? Basically
Oh,
means
yeah.
empathy basically means put myself in your shoes, right? What does the world look like from your end of it, right? From your point of view.
Right.
What am I looking at, right? From your perspective, right? Not just from my perspective as a man, right? As a middle-aged man, what does it look like from your perspective, right? How does the world look from you? What's different, right? What changed? What's your perspective? What do you think? What's in your head? What's in your heart, right? And I think once you start giving each other, we do this, it works both ways, right? When you give each other empathy, you kind of meet them in the middle, if you will, right? You won't be in your own corners like a boxing match. We're kind of come in the middle, and we can work things out. Right, I think that would be the thing I would say. And just to wrap up, my love, this second episode here of our podcast, to our audience here, if you need help, if you need some support, we've got you.
Yes.
We have over
Yeah.
15 years of experience teaching these skills. Head over to our website, nurturingthenest.com. Check us out on our socials. We have free tools, support, resources. We have several courses that are available to you as well, just to help you build the kind of relationship and marriage you actually want, right?
100%. And we're in this with you, and we wholeheartedly believe you can do this. These are
Hmm.
skills that can be learned. None of us were born knowing how to do this, how to build strong relationships. It is a skill, it can be learned, and we've got you.
Until next time, keep fighting for each other, not against each other. Right, right. See ya. Bye bye.